in Florida, where today we saw a new chapter in the ongoing war of words between President Biden and Governor Ron DeSantis, fueling the rumors DeSantis could end up being the Republican challenger in 2024. NewsNation's Joe Khalil live for us tonight in D.C. So, Joe, are we seeing a presidential election preview here?
It's certainly possible. Governor DeSantis is walking a political tightrope right now. He's in the best position of anybody not named Donald Trump to be the standard bearer for the Republican Party and for that MAGA movement. And he basically got that way, Nichole, by defying every COVID safety protocol, from mask mandates to lockdowns, even yesterday going after President Biden and defending a Florida law that basically bans companies and cities in Florida from making their own mask rules.
Joe Biden suggests that if you don't do lockdown policies, then you should, quote, get out of the way. But let me tell you this. If you're coming after the rights of parents in Florida, I'm standing in your way.
He's going to have to own his pandemic performance here. We did see his poll numbers tank a bit as the Delta variant has caused a rise in cases in Florida. So that's something that could be concerning there. Plus, his popularity in the MAGA base itself could put him in the crosshairs of former President Trump. There has been reporting that Trump sees DeSantis as a threat. We know that both of their camps actually butted heads a bit after that condo collapse when the president wanted to do a rally in Florida that week. And Governor DeSantis said, don't come. It's not a good look. The former president came anyway and did that rally. We spoke to a former RNC spokesperson about that rift.
Ron DeSantis is politically smart enough to know that he needs to stay close to Trump and he needs to stay in his good graces until he has secured that position and been reelected in Florida. I totally believe that he will have to separate after that point, but then he's also in a much stronger political position to be able to do that.
And Nichole, in a straw poll at CPAC, the conservative basically gold standard for their conferences, President Trump did poll highest with about 70% to be the front runner. DeSantis came in second, but a distant second at just 20%.
All right, so Joe, talking about the former president there, how about the current one, though? Has President Biden weighed in on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis?
He kind of did. He kind of didn't, Nichole. He got a question today about the remarks that DeSantis had made, and President Biden's response today to that was, Governor who? So clearly this may continue, but sort of a Nancy Pelosi move there from President Biden.
Yeah,
Nichole?
I would say so. I'm quite sure he knows who Governor DeSantis is. All right, Joe, thank you.